The office was alive with the steady hum of productivity, the rhythmic tapping of keyboards blended with the low murmur of conversations, punctuated by the occasional ring of telephones. Papers shuffled, printers whirred, and the faint scent of freshly brewed coffee drifted through the air. Employees sat at their cubicles, heads bent over spreadsheets and documents, lost in the whirlpool of corporate routine. You sat quietly at your desk in the far corner, away from the chatter and gossip that usually filled the floor. Adjusting your glasses, you reread the last few lines of the presentation you had finished yesterday, a project you had worked on tirelessly, even though nobody had acknowledged your effort. That was the rhythm of your office life, doing more than you were asked, yet remaining unseen. Just as you were about to stretch and take a short coffee break, a sharp sound interrupted your moment of peace. A heavy stack of files landed on your desk with a force that made your pen roll off the edge. You looked up startled, only to find Yeri standing there. She wore a smug smile, her eyes sparkling with the kind of arrogance that only came from being close to power. Go through these and make a report, she said curtly, tapping her manicured nails against the top file. Your brows furrowed, but that's not part of my. Yeri leaned closer, cutting you off with a cold smirk. Here, I decide what work you all should be doing, and you should be grateful I'm even giving you this chance. No one really notices you here, Ryan. You're not exactly useful, but here's your opportunity. Don't waste it. Her words stung, not because they weren't true in the eyes of your colleagues, but because they reminded you of your invisibility. Yeri didn't wait for your response. With her heels clicking sharply against the tiled floor, she walked away, leaving a trail of superiority behind her. You stare at her retreating figure, your fist tightening around your pen. Every cell in your body wanted to throw the files back at her smug face, but you couldn't. You couldn't afford to lose this job. Sighing heavily, you picked up the first file and began scanning its contents. Hours slipped away, the office gradually emptied, laughter and chatter fading into silence. Only a few employees remained, their tired faces illuminating by the bluish glow of their computer screens. But you, still hunched over your desk, tapping the report Yeri had forced upon you, seemed like a forgotten shadow. The door to the CEO's cabin opened and John Jungkook stepped out, phone pressed to his ear. His voice was calm, authoritative, the kind that made people straighten in their chairs as he walked past the cubicles. Make sure the numbers from the quarterly report align with the projections. I don't want inconsistencies where the board reviews it tomorrow. He said into the phone, walking. He strode between the cubicles, his sharp footsteps echoing in the quiet office. No, don't send it out yet. Double check it with the finance team and have it on my desk first thing in the morning. There was a pause and his expression softened slightly as he listened. Yes, that will do. If there's a problem, call me before it becomes a bigger one. He pulled the phone from his ear, ending the call with a short press of his thumb. His eyes lifted instinctively, and that's when he saw you. The weariness in your posture, the file stacked like a mountain beside you, the way your tired eyes still focused stubbornly on the glowing screen. Jungkook glanced at his wristwatch. It was late, too late. He quietly approached your desk. You didn't even notice until his deep voice broke the silence. Why are you still here? Startled, you nearly jumped out of your chair. Turning quickly, your eyes widened when you realized who stood behind you. John Jungkook, your CEO. I'm almost done. You stammered, standing awkwardly. His eyes flicked to the files spread across your desk, his brows furrowed, confusion and displeasure flickering in his expression. But instead of questioning further, he simply nodded. You shouldn't be working this late, he said in a low, firm tone. Go home and rest. You quickly saved your documents, gathered your belongings, and gave him a polite bow. Yes, sir, thank you. He watched as you walked away, the faint click of your shoes echoing in the empty hallway. Something about the way you carried yourself, quiet, reserved, yet hardworking, stayed with him longer than he expected. The night was cold as you stepped outside the company building. The street was unusually quiet, only a few distant cars passing by. You pulled your bag closer, glancing around for a taxi, but there was none. Minutes ticked by, your shoulders tensing as the air grew colder. Looks like I'm not getting home tonight. Just then, a sleek black car slowed to a stop beside you. The tinted window rolled down, revealing Jungkook behind the wheel. His eyes met yours, sharp yet oddly gentle. Waiting for a taxi. You hesitated but nodded. Yes. He looked around, knowing it's not easy to get a taxi at this hour. Then he looked back at you. Get in, he said simply. You blinked, taken aback. Oh, no, it's fine, I'll manage. He arched a brow, his voice leaving no room for argument. It's late. I'm not leaving you alone out here. Get in. Your hesitation melted under his insistence. Slowly you opened the door and slid into the passenger seat, the scent of leather and faint cologne wrapping around you. Finally, his voice broke the quiet. Why were you working on those files? That wasn't your task. Your fingers fidgeted with the hem of your sleeve. You debated lying but decided against it. Yeri asked me to. She said it was important. Jungkook's grip on the steering wheel tightened slightly, though his expression remained unreadable. He didn't comment, but the flicker of understanding in his eyes was enough. Moments later, the car slowed as it reached your neighborhood. You glanced at him nervously. Thank you for the ride, sir, and good night. You opened the door and stepped out, bowing slightly. He didn't drive off immediately. Instead, he waited, his gaze following you until you disappeared safely into your building. Only then did he press the accelerator and vanish into the night. Inside the car for the first time in a long while, Jungkook found himself wondering why had he never noticed you before. The next morning the office was buzzing again. The faint clatter of keyboards echoed like background music. Phones rang one after another, and employees hurried around with files in hand. Some whispered about the CEO's strict standards, others gossiped about who might secure the coveted position of his personal secretary. You sat quietly at your desk, sipping your coffee, still lost in the memory of last night. The car ride, his deep voice asking you questions, the way he watched until you safely went inside. It didn't mean anything, you reminded yourself. He was just being considerate, but still your heart hadn't stopped replaying it. Meanwhile, in the CEO's office, Yeri was already making her move. She didn't even knock. With her usual air of confidence, she pushed open the glass door and stepped inside, carrying a neatly stacked pile of files. Morning, Jungkook. She chirped, her tone overly casual. Jungkook looked up from his laptop, one brow raised at her sudden entrance. What is it, Yeri? She smirked, placing the files on his desk with a deliberate thud. I was just wondering, when will you finally choose your new personal secretary? Everyone is waiting. He leaned back in his leather chair, eyes narrowing slightly. As soon as I find the one, I'll hire them. Yeri's lips curved into a practiced smile. She leaned forward slightly, her voice lowering into something almost persuasive. You don't have to look anywhere else. I'm right here, ready to be the one. Jungkook's gaze flickered to the file she had placed. His sharp eyes instantly recognized the format, the style of analysis, the late night work he had witnessed on your desk. He didn't say anything yet, just tapped his pen against the table. Yeri, mistaking his silence for interest, continued eagerly. Think about it. It would be perfect. I'm your best friend and your secretary. Who else could be more suitable? Jungkook's jaw tightened. His voice came out calm but firm. This is a workplace, Yeri. Friendships don't work here. Potential does. Her smile didn't falter, not yet. She tilted her head. And guess what? I have both. So, what did you decide? She leaned casually on his desk as if she were already in the position. Jungkook gave her a tight smile. Without answering, he reached for his desk phone and dialed a number. Send Miss Fine to my office. Yeri's smile frozen, her eyes narrowing. Why are you calling her? I have something to say. He replied coolly, already opening one of the files she had dropped on his desk. He began flipping through the pages, his expression changing, his eyes sharpened, his lips twitching with the faintest trace of approval. Impressive work, well detailed reports, clear analysis, creative yet precise solutions. Yeri's heart leaped. She straightened proudly, assuming he was praising her. I know, I put in a lot of effort. Glad you noticed. Just then the door opened. You stepped in nervously, smoothing your skirt and adjusting your glasses. You call me, sir? Yeri rolled her eyes, already annoyed by your presence. Jungkook closed the file and stood, his tall frame towering as he looked between you and Yeri. Yes, I called you. His tone softened, his words deliberate. You have such great potential and talent, Miss Ryan, and yet this company was wasting it for months, including me. I overlooked you. Your breath caught in your throat. You blinked, not sure you had heard correctly. Yeri's smile faltered, confusion creeping onto her face. Jungkook stepped around his desk, stopping in front of you. His dark eyes held you firmly. Not anymore. The room felt utterly silent, the air thick with tension. Then his voice rang with certainty. Miss Ryan, would you like to be my personal secretary? You froze, your hands trembled slightly. This was your dream, something you had silently hoped for, but never believed would come true. Sir? Yeri snapped, her voice sharp with disbelief. What are you doing, Jungkook? I'm the one who did all the work. How can you just pick her randomly? Jungkook's gaze shifted to her, cold and unyielding. Yeri, this isn't a random pick. This is based on pure talent and hard work. He lifted the file in his hand. This is her work, not yours. Yeri's jaw dropped. What? That's not true. I gave you these files. He cut her off, his voice suddenly sharper. Oh, really? Then tell me. How can I trust you to be my secretary when you're not even honest with me about something this small? If you made her do the work, then the least you should do is give her the credit. Be happy for her. She got what she truly deserves. Your eyes welled with tears. You pressed your lips together, smiling faintly, even as your vision blurred. This was everything you had ever worked for, finally seen. Yeri, however, was livid. I'm your best friend. You're not trusting me, you're trusting her. Jungkook's reply was steady, his voice like steel. I'm trusting myself, my own eyes. I saw her working late at night when everyone else had gone home. She didn't complain, even when it wasn't her responsibility. She values this company. She knows that the company's loss is everyone's loss. That, Yeri, is what makes her the best candidate for a secretary. Yeri's face twisted in anger. She grabbed her bag and stormed out, slamming the door behind her. The silence that followed was almost deafening. You turned to Jungkook, your voice shaky. Thank you, sir. I don't even know what to say. His expression softened, the sternness melting into something warmer. Don't thank me. You earned this. I was the fool for not noticing sooner. You blinked rapidly, fighting back tears. But are you sure? I'm not like others. I don't fit in well. He tilted his head, his voice lowering. That's because you weren't meant to fit in, Miss Ryan. You were meant to stand out. Your heart skipped a beat. For the first time since joining this company, you felt seen. He walked back behind his desk, pulling out a new contract. From today onwards, you are officially my personal secretary. I expect you in my office at 9 sharp tomorrow. You nodded quickly, bowing. Yes, sir, I'll do my best. He smirked faintly, his gaze lingering on you for a moment longer. I know you will. As you walked out of his office, the papers clutched tightly to your chest. You could still feel the weight of his words echoing inside you, and for the first time in months, you weren't invisible anymore. The atmosphere in the company had changed since yesterday's announcement. For the first time, people actually looked at you, not through you. You weren't the invisible employee anymore, hidden in the corner cubicle. You were now the CEO's personal secretary. As you walked through the office that morning, files in hand, you could feel the shift in people's gazes. Some were curious, some genuinely smiled, and some whispered to each other as you passed. It was strange, unnerving even, but deep down it felt good. You settled into your new desk just outside Jungkook's office, organizing his schedule and checking mails. Your glasses slipped slightly down your nose as you typed quickly, and a junior employee paused by your desk. Miss Ryan, that presentation last week, the one about the market strategy, was that your work? He asked hesitantly. You looked up surprised. Yes, I worked on it. His face brightened. It was brilliant. Everyone on the team was talking about it. I just wanted to say that. You smiled faintly, murmuring a thank you. Compliments weren't something you were used to. For years, your work had gone unnoticed, often claimed by others, but now people were beginning to recognize you. Inside the CEO's cabin, Jungkook observed all this through the glass wall. He leaned back in his chair, his lips curving ever so slightly as he watched you handle people with quiet grace. Later that afternoon, a board meeting was scheduled. It was an important one, the quarterly review with all the directors present. You had been working tirelessly to prepare the reports, organizing charts, graphs, and projections. Jungkook had personally reviewed your drafts and given a rare nod of approval. As everyone gathered in the grand conference room, Yeri sat confidently near the head of the table, flashing her usual smile as though nothing had changed, but her eyes, sharp and calculating, flicked toward you with thinly veiled annoyance. As you entered carrying the files and projector slides, the meeting began with Jungkook at the head. His deep voice carried authority as he addressed the board. We are here to review our quarterly results and discuss new strategies. Miss Ryan will present the compiled analysis. Yeri's smirk widened. This was her chance. She had tampered with one of the files earlier in the morning, just enough to cause confusion, hoping you would falter in front of everyone. You took a deep breath and began your presentation. Your voice was steady, your slides clean, each point backed with data. The directors nodded, occasionally exchanging impressed glances. Then came the slide Yeri had sabotaged. The numbers looked off, a murmur rippled. One of the directors frowned. Miss Ryan, are these figures accurate? They don't align with the last quarter's data. You froze for a fraction of a second, realizing something was wrong. From the corner of your eyes, you saw Yeri triumphant smile. But before you could even explain, Jungkook spoke up. His voice was calm, firm, commanding the room. They are not correct, he admitted without hesitation, because what you are holding isn't the finalized version. The clients looked confused. Jungkook turned to you. Miss Ryan, please distribute the correct set we prepared together last night. Your eyes widened. He had your back. With steady hands, you quickly pulled out the backup reports you and Jungkook had worked on until late the night before. You handed them around, and instantly the confusion cleared. The correct data aligned perfectly, leaving the clients impressed. One of them nodded, smiling. Ah, yes, these numbers make sense. Very well prepared. Jungkook leaned back in his chair, his dark eyes sweeping the table. At John Corporations, we ensure accuracy. I personally oversee critical reports with my secretary. Nothing leaves this company unchecked. The clients nodded approvingly, reassured of the company's reliability. Meanwhile, Yeri's face turned pale. She hadn't known Jungkook stayed late with you, double checking every figure himself. Her plan to embarrass you had just blown up in her face. The meeting concluded with handshakes and smiles. Several clients praised not just Jungkook but also you directly. Exceptional work, precise, thorough, and well articulated. We haven't seen a presentation this strong in months. Another director nodded. Agreed, Miss Ryan, you have proven yourself invaluable. The CEO made the right choice. You are a talented young lady. You bowed slightly, your cheeks warm, heart fluttering. Compliments kept pouring in, each one like a small victory you never thought you would taste. Jungkook finally spoke, his deep voice carrying through the room. This is what happens when the true potential is given the chance to shine. His eyes lingered on you for a second longer than necessary. Well done, Miss Ryan. Your throat tightened, but you managed a soft thank you, sir. Later that evening, after the clients had left and the office grew quieter, you returned to Jungkook's cabin with the leftover documents. He was standing by the window, the city lights casting a glow around him. Sir, you said softly, placing the files on his desk. Thank you for saving me today. He turned his eyes, locking onto yours. I didn't save you, you saved yourself. You had the backups, the data, the foresight. I just gave you the floor. You blinked, overwhelmed. But if you hadn't spoken up, I would have looked like a fool in front of everyone. He stepped closer, his voice lowering. I have seen how hard you work. Do you think I would let anyone tarnish that in front of clients? Not a chance. Your heart thudded at the intensity in his gaze. You fiddled nervously with your pen. Still, I owe you, sir. A faint smirk tugged at his lips. Then repay me by continuing to impress me. You laughed softly, shaking your head, but then silence stretched between you, the kind that wasn't awkward, it was charged, alive. His eyes softened just a little as he studied your face, and you felt the space between you shrink, even though neither of you moved. Finally, Jungkook cleared his throat, breaking the moment. Go home, Miss Ryan, you have earned your rest. You bowed slightly, hiding the warmth in your cheeks. Good night, sir. As you left his office, Jungkook's eyes lingered on you through the glass wall. There was something different now. She wasn't just his secretary. She was someone who made him feel things he couldn't quite explain. And meanwhile, Yeri, burning with jealousy, was already plotting her next move. One afternoon, Yeri walked confidently into the office, holding a stack of reports. She had a sly smile, masking the malice underneath. You were busy typing an urgent email for Jungkook when she leaned against your desk. Ryan, I thought I would help you out. I know you must be overwhelmed handling the CEO's tasks. Why don't I submit these reports to Mr. John? They are important. Don't want you messing them up. You frowned slightly. That won't be necessary. Mr. John asked me to personally handle these. Yeri tilted her head, feigning innocence. Oh, but I already revised them for you. You wouldn't want him to think you are careless, right? You didn't answer, choosing to keep your professionalism intact, but inside unease prickled at you. Later that day, Jungkook called for the reports. Before you could bring them in, Yeri was already in his office, handing them over. Here, Jungkook, I noticed Ryan made some mistakes, so I fixed them for her. You know how new she is to this. She needs guidance. Jungkook looked at her, then at the documents. He flipped through them, his sharp eyes catching subtle edits, words changed, figures adjusted. He leaned back in his chair, his expression unreadable. You fixed them? Yeri nodded proudly. Yes, I couldn't let you down. I thought, as your best friend, I should step in. But before she could revel in her supposed triumph, the door opened. You entered with the original set of reports, neatly arranged and flawless. Sir, here are the reports you asked for. Jungkook raised a brow, looking between you and Yeri. He motioned for both of you to place the files on his desk. He went through them, side by side, his silence dragging like a blade across the room. Finally, he looked up. His voice was calm, but the steel in it was unmistakable. Interesting. One version is clean, precise, and consistent with our company's format. The other is sloppy, tempered. Yeri's eyes widened. "Oh, what? That can't be." He cut her off. "Yeri, do you take me for a fool? I have been watching Ryan has been meticulous, staying late to double check numbers while you were too busy loitering in my office. Don't insult me by trying to pass her work off as flawed when it's perfect." The entire room fell into silence. Even a couple of employees nearby who overheard looked stunned. Yeri's face flushed. "But Jungkook, I only wanted to help." "No, you wanted to sabotage her once again." He sighed and finally stood up. "Yeri, I tolerated a lot because of our history, but this fabricating lies about Wayne undermining her work, that's low, even for you." Yeri clenched her fist. "I'm your best friend. How can you trust her over me?" "Because she earned it. With her hard work, her honesty. You think being my friend entitles you to loyalty in the office? This is business, Yeri. Talent and integrity comes first. And she has both." His words cut deep, and you saw Yeri's mask finally crack, her eyes shining with frustrated tears. "So, you would really choose her over me?" Jungkook glanced at you, then back at Yeri, his voice low but sharp. "I'm not choosing between you and her. I'm choosing what's right, and Ryan is what's right for this company and for me." You froze, his last words echoing louder in your chest than you wanted to admit. Yeri stormed out, her heels clicking angrily against the floor, leaving only you and Jungkook in the thick silence. You turned to him nervous. "Sir, thank you, but you didn't have to." He interrupted. "I did because you deserve to be defended. Don't let anyone make you think otherwise." His eyes softened, the sharpness melting just for you. He stepped closer, his voice quieter. "Don't ever doubt your worth here, Ryan. Not while I'm around." Your heart skipped. For a moment, the office walls felt too small, the distance between you and him too fragile. You whispered, almost trembling, "I'll do my best, sir." A ghost of a smile tugged at his lips as he leaned just a little closer, his tone carrying something only meant for you. "You already are." The sun was dipping beyond the glass windows of Jungkook's office, casting amber shadows across the floor. The day had been heavy. Yeri's sabotage, Jungkook's confrontation, and the whispers that still lingered in the office halls. But Yeri wasn't finished. She stormed back into Jungkook's office, her eyes burning with a mix of frustration and heartbreak. You were supposed to be filing papers nearby, but curiosity and something stronger, unexplainable, had drawn you closer to the corridor outside his office door. "Why, Jungkook? Why are you so into her? What does she have that I don't? I have been here for you for years and you can't even see me. But her? What's so special about her?" Jungkook, seated at his desk, slowly stood. His jaw was tense, but his eyes softened with something deep, something vulnerable. "You want to know why?" Yeri's breath hedged, waiting. "Because she works without needing an audience. Because she doesn't expect rewards, yet she deserves them all. Because every time she walks into a room, I feel it, the calm, the sincerity, the fire she carries inside. She doesn't try to impress me, Yeri. She just is, and that's enough. That's more than enough." Yeri's lips parted in disbelief, her anger flickering into devastation. But what Jungkook didn't know, what Yeri didn't know, was that you had heard every word. You stood frozen in the hallway, your heart pounding wildly. His words should have made you smile, should have lifted you higher than the sky. Yet tears pricked your eyes instead. You didn't know why, maybe because it felt too unreal, too fragile, too much like a dream you weren't sure you deserved. You turned quietly, walking away, your footsteps almost trembling against the marble floor. Inside, Jungkook's sharp gaze flicked toward the hallway, just in time to see your retreating figure. Ian. Without another word, he brushed past Yeri, his strides urgent. He caught up to you halfway down the corridor, his hand reaching out gently but firmly, grasping your arm. You stopped, breath hitching, before he turned you toward him. His eyes searched yours, desperate, almost pleading. Ryan, I'm sorry if you didn't like what I said. I don't know when it happened, but it's true. Every word of it. I'm sorry if it hurt you. If I hurt you. Your chest tightened, tears slipping free. His sincerity was overwhelming. How can you think you hurt me when I feel the same? For a moment, the world stood still, his expression shattered, relief, disbelief, joy all colliding at once. His hand moved from your arm to your cheek, cradling you as though you were the most fragile. Say it again, please. You smiled through your tears. I feel the same. And then, without hesitation, he closed the distance. His lips met yours in a kiss that was both urgent and tender, a confession without words, a promise without conditions. You melted into him, your hands clutching his shirt as if afraid he would disappear. It wasn't just a kiss, it was years of unspoken feelings, silent sacrifices, and quiet admiration finally breaking free. But not everyone was happy to see it. At the far end of the corridor, Yeri stood frozen, her eyes wide, her fist clenched at her sides. The confession, the kiss, it was the final blow. She turned away, her heels striking angrily against the floor as she walked off, leaving only the sound of your breathless kiss echoing in the golden light of evening.